Live with local news that matters in Sioux City, Iowa. This is ABC 9 News at 10.
And good evening. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Tim Seaman.
And I'm Jenna Renstrom. If given the choice, two Sioux City hospitals say they would prefer not to take part in the state's new Medicaid plan.
Starting the 1st of January, Medicaid plans in Iowa will be organized by 4 different private companies.
Tonight, we start with a condition that affects thousands of children and adults in our country. And one Siouxland family hopes shining a light on type 1 diabetes will someday lead to a cure. The proposed Dakota Access Pipeline has made headlines for their persuasion tactics, possibly used to get landowners to sign agreements, and over concerns with that proposed route.
Now, that report card places schools in one of 6 rated categories: exceptional, high-performing, commendable, acceptable, needs improvement, or priority. And we've color-coded them, from white being the best and red being the worst, so you can play along here.
This is the kind of auto-injector that David uses, a little different from your traditional EpiPen. This is just a tester so I can show you how it works.
If you are ready to use, pull off red safety guard. To inject, place black end against outer thigh, then press firmly and hold in place for 5 seconds.
These days, things are very different at Parker Farms in Cherokee, Iowa.
It's taken our normal, turn it upside down, and you kind of got to start all over and figure out what you need to do.
Birds on Rod Parker's farm tested positive for avian influenza on May 7th, and now more than 40,000 turkeys have been euthanized and composted. Even though Rod Parker opened up his barn so we could get a peek inside at these piles of compost, he asked us not to go inside just to stay safe. However, we did still take biosecurity measures, just even to walk in and stand outside the barn. We washed our feet coming both in and going back out, and he gave me these boot covers just to be safe. What's concerning to Rod is that many of these measures were in place before the avian flu, and farmers worry this outbreak will just happen again.
We can put on boots, we can scrub boots, we can have disinfectant at all the doors, we can change clothes, gloves, masks, you name it. No matter how hard you try, sometimes Mother Nature's still going to overpower you.
Growers in the area are working together to compost the turkeys and haul away the piles, and they say there's still confusion about what happens next. Their frustration with the USDA is literally piling up.
The paperwork was such a nightmare. We're still trying to work on paperwork, and it's simple stuff. Seems like it takes 3 times as long just to get through the red tape.
Once they get through that red tape and finish their quarantine period, Parker hopes he can repopulate the farm by the end of September or early October. Reporting in Cherokee, Iowa, Allison Warren, ABC 9 News.
When your kids are going through that, you don't like to wait 4 years.
Mike and Tammy Hoyk's daughter Shelby was seizing dozens of times every day. They say instead of waiting for Iowa lawmakers to provide a cannabis oil option in state, they found success in Charlotte's Web, a kind of cannabis oil that can be shipped right to their home in Everly.
You know, you always worry, now we're into it this far. And it's worked so well that we don't want to be without it.
Because they have a card to legally have cannabis oil in Iowa, and they're not crossing state lines to get it, the two say they feel they're within their rights. But they still worry.
If we would have to take her off the oil, it would be
Devastating.
It would be devastating to her.
Using the oil twice a day for 4 months, Shelby's parents say they've seen drastic improvements. In fact, they're already weaning her off different seizure medications.
The amount of meds we've reduced already, we have not seen an increase in seizures. It's actually been a reduction.
The couple says they know other families are afraid of the legal implications of having the oil shipped through the mail. But they say because of the changes they've seen in Shelby, it's worth the risk.
People that are, afraid to do it, we understand, but it's worth the try.
Tammy calls it hope in a bottle because that's what it's given their family.
As long as the mailman keeps coming, we'll be happy.
World War II ranks as the deadliest military conflict in history. Over 60 million people were killed. Of course, many American soldiers did survive, but now, some 70 years later, statistics released by the Veterans Administration show that our World War II veterans are dying at a rate of approximately 500 a day, meaning only about 800,000 veterans of the 16 million who served are still here to tell their story. I recently sat down with 2 local World War II survivors who still call Siouxland home. Just like the names and dates etched on headstones stretching from Arlington National Cemetery to Sioux City's Graceland Cemetery, America's greatest generation is fading, taking with them the stories that only they know.
It's that kind of a day, you know. So
we can't control the weather, so
yeah.
Kermit Lee and Bob Derflinger both served in World War II. Neither faced live combat, but their sacrifices helped end the conflict.
Maybe I didn't have the biggest part in service, but I still feel good about it.
I think of that as the best 4 years of my life. I didn't see a lot of hardships like some people did, but it always made me feel proud.
Now, members of American Legion Post 662 in Sergeant Bluff, this pair says Veterans Day is the perfect time to share their memories. A farmer, Kermit was sowing oats the day that his draft card showed up in the mail.
And when that draft card came, I just snapped like that. I said, well, I'm going the way I went. April 2nd, 1942.
When I was in college.
In March of 43, Bob was a student at Iowa Teachers College.
I was at the Paramount Theater in Waterloo going to a show. They stopped the movie and came out on stage and announced that Pearl Harbor had been bombed.
At age 18, school was on hold.
I knew that eventually I was going to be drafted, and I decided that now's the time. I can always go to school.
Combined, the men served about 7 years.
I don't talk too much about what happened then. On Veterans Day, I think back, yes. The rest of the time, it's put away.
In the Army, Bob stayed stateside, training medics for active duty. Kermit finished his service in the Philippine Islands in the 1039th Air Material Squadron of the Air Force.
32 months overseas. We were together that whole time, so we had a lot of good memories, but they're all gone. I'm the only one left.
There are not too many left, Tim. I think the biggest connection we have is with our Legion.
Good to share those memories, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Memories.
Well, I'd be happy to talk to them about it.
These men hope today's generation won't forget.
I've had school kids come to me and ask about different things, and I kind of enjoy reminiscing about refreshing my memory about all the good and the bad.
They don't have any idea.
And while times do change, officials with the National World War II Museum estimate that by 2036, there will be no living veterans of World War II left to recount their experiences.
Recognition for veterans seems to be more today than it was 20 years ago.
That's my opinion.
Making this week in communities large and small.
Something that should be honored by everyone.
You excited, looking forward to Veterans Day?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is it good to see the whole town come out on Veterans Day?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Take some pictures and have our firing squad go, you know.
Making sure to honor the sacrifice so many give today and all those years ago.
Whenever Veterans Day comes along, it makes me feel proud that I was able to serve.
It's a privilege that we had a chance to be there.
Chances are you've never heard of a cuddle cot. Well, hopefully you'll never need one. But one Sioux City mom is making sure there's support in place at a local hospital for families who experience infant loss or stillbirth. More about what she's doing in tonight's Your Health Matters.
The reason for donating the cuddle cot is because it gives the gift of time to families that are in the same situation as us.
Surrounded by supportive family, friends, and nurses, Michelle Chris of Sioux City is making good on a promise she made to herself after she lost her son Amos.
Yeah, thanks for letting me do this. This is a great legacy.
This box is the beginning of Amos's legacy. Michelle raised over $3,000 to purchase a cuddle cot, which she then donated to the Family Birth Center at Mercy Medical Center. This is where she delivered her son, but she didn't get to bring him home like most moms. He died at 40 weeks just before he was born.
It was very important that it be here, that this be the first hospital, because this is where he was born, and this is the start of his legacy.
The cuddle cot wouldn't have changed the outcome for Michelle, but what it does give is the gift of time. This small cooling bed slows the natural process of death so families can have more time to look at, take pictures of, and hold their baby.
It's all about the moments, and our job is to help them capture those moments as well as they can, because it's something they can't get back, whether it be fingerprints, handprints, photos, bathing their child, dressing their child, a lock of hair. All of those little things matter a lot, especially later on.
Michelle made this mission a reality in just 3 months, so she's going to keep raising money to put more cuddle cots in local hospitals to help other families like hers, all in honor of Amos.
The cuddle cot is a very big part of his legacy. So helping families in Siouxland through Mercy Hospital is very important for a part of Amos's legacy.
She's such a wonderful woman. I've been so honored to follow her support. She wanted to raise enough money for this cuddle cot over the course of 8 months. Well, the community just kind of jumped on board. She raised it in a month, and a couple months later is making the donation. So it's really, really special. It's going to help people.
And I think I heard you mention earlier she looks at providing cots for other hospitals.
Yeah, since the fundraising's gone so well, they're just going to kind of keep going and see what other hospitals they can bring this to as well.
Cowboy Center? Oh, yeah.
These Dallas Cowboy fans are getting nervous, especially Naoki Makiba.
If they can just get in the end zone, that'd be great. A couple points right there. There we go.
The Cowboys are down, but that's not why Naoki is worried. He's got 2 fantasy draft picks in the game, and in his league, a loss on the fantasy field is a real-life fumble.
This league is a money league. This league is a money league. It was $50 a person to play, and it's winner take all.
And while it's just a friendly wager, his fantasy league is actually against the law.
Really? Wow. That's new to me. I didn't know that.
Under Iowa code, pay-to-play games are illegal. Players must personally know their league partners, and you can't win or lose more than $200 a day. Iowa Attorney General Tom Miller says it's those laws that make the big jackpots in daily fantasy sports off limits.
You know, the amount of winnings, potential winnings, if you watch TV, are just huge. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, well beyond the $200 limit in Iowa law.
So how much more are they?
Is giving away over $300 million this baseball season.
Unlike traditional fantasy sports, daily fantasy allows users to buy into short-term mega cash leagues.
Fantasy football leagues for real money.
But the big bucks are out of bounds for Iowans.
This is an issue that definitely got a lot of attention last year in Des Moines.
Earlier this year, Sioux City Senator Rick Bertrand helped to pass a bill that would have defined fantasy sports as a game of skill.
We pushed it to the House. It got through the state government committee in the House, and it stalled on the floor, and I think that's where we're at moving into this next session.
Bertrand says opponents in the legislature were concerned about the impact it would have on the state's current gaming industry. There's also fear that the lure of huge jackpots could fuel gambling addictions. However, gambling therapist Jermaine Mayer says the size of the winnings don't play a role.
A lot of the activity that's happening in the brain is similar to getting high off of some type of substance. So they're constantly trying to recreate that high.
The Hawkeye State is one of 7 in the nation with restrictions on daily fantasy sports. And as for Naoki at the bar, he's hoping to avoid crossing over the line between fun and fouling out.
Fantasy football I believe, is a game of skill with some strategy, I think. Right now, FanDuel is a bit of a gamble. Whenever you play it, so.
A gloomy Wednesday afternoon has Vivian Papenhausen inside and away from the family farm most of the day. She says the rain now is nothing like the 6 inches she saw during Tuesday night's storm.
We just kept wondering, is the hail going to start coming now or what? You know, our crops are just about ready for the bin, and it's kind of sad to think about what could happen.
Vivian says she woke up to a lake of rainwater in her pasture, flooding in the fields and a big mess on the roads.
You could see a lot of places where the water had been over the road and all the debris was laying in the road.
In the town of Coleridge, just a few miles from Vivian's farm, nearly 6 inches of rain was measured in the storm. Bob Yost, a longtime volunteer observer with the National Weather Service, says his rain gauge measured 4.5 inches in the last 24 hours, the most he's seen in a long time.
It's the second. I've been doing this for 37 years, and this is the second time we've had that much rain.
With more rain headed that direction, people around Cedar County say they're just hoping things dry out, and soon, before they lose any crops to the soggy weather.
And good evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Fred Hexum in downtown Sioux City, where I'm out braving the elements. We've had, well, let's just measure here in an unplowed section, about 3 inches of snow so far here. And of course, there's a layer of slick slush underneath all of that.
Roads are slick, really hard to drive, really slippery. If you could even see behind me, there's a police car blocking off the entrance to I-29 South.
This one is a radar indicated rotation, so we do not have the confirmation yet on that storm, but it's pretty easy to see where we might have a tornado on the ground. By the way, treat every tornado warning as if the tornado is on the ground. Your life could depend upon that, and so we encourage everyone inside of those red warning boxes to take shelter right away. Here is a picture of some hail damage west of Jefferson, South Dakota. Thank you, Wendy, for sending that in. You can see the hail just ripped up the front of the house. I got this just before the show. And here's some hail from Minden Malone from Concord, Nebraska this afternoon. And a picture of some quarter-size hail from Jessica Stultz from Jefferson, South Dakota. That move here on to some rain totals. We saw one total from Sloan reported at 8 inches. Many other totals around Sloan at 5 to 6 inches. Climbing Hill, Iowa, 7 1/4. Correctionville, 6.7 inches. No correction needed on that. And 6.2 inches in Mobile. Decatur, Nebraska, 5 inches. Sioux City escaped the heaviest rain with just under 1.5 inches at the airport and 1.75 inches on the north side of the metro. Here's some video of flooding this morning from Odo, courtesy of Richard Mack. You can see the ditch is just full of water. This was taken sometime between about 6 and 7 a.m. Lots of flash flooding in eastern Woodbury County this morning.
We now have a severe thunderstorm warning that's right along the barrier of Antelope and Knox counties. We'll pull up the information for you now. That will continue until 6:30 here tonight. Be aware there could be some large hail associated with the storm as it moves to the east.
ABC 9 Sports Director Chris Palmquist has been at the ballpark all night covering Game 1. He joins us now live. Chris, give us the update.
Jenna and Tim, it's turning into a bit of a late night down here at the ballpark due to the late start after the rain and lightning pushed through the area. We're currently in the middle of the 8th inning. The X's have a 3-2 lead.
And that's where we find Sports Director Chris Palmquist. How's it going out there on Memorial Field, Chris?
Jenna, it's a little wet out here after last night, but I tell you what, these fans are fired up for tonight's game.
Welcome back to the ABC 9 Sports Zone. Last season, MMC beat GTRA twice, once in the regular season and then again in the playoffs, ending the Titans' year.
Can you even say Grettinger, Terrell, Ruth, Van Aerscher?
Probably not.
All
it's
right.
a tongue twister.
Tonight's matchup could be a preview of another postseason battle. The 5th-ranked Titans in Marcus to take on the 4th-ranked Eagles in a great 8-man battle. You know I love my 8-man football.
Me too.
MMC's Ben Specht. Look at him breaking tackles and going 42 yards to the house. He's amped. MMC goes up 32-14. So it's game over, right?
Not at all.
Not in 8-man football. Michael Gieris, 15 yards to the house for GTRA with 15 seconds left in the half. It's a 12-point game at the break. In the third now, down to an 8-point game. And Gieris, again, this time from 20 yards out. Shedding tacklers. Game tied up at 40. MMC, though, battles again. Micah Peterson on the receiving end from Ben Specht, 35 yards right there in front of the end zone. They say he broke the pylon. Touchdown, Eagles. We jump ahead to the 4th, and it's that Specht kid again, doing it all from the quarterback position. That seals the win. MMC takes a great one, 56-40.
We had to make some big-time adjustments on defense as far as our D-line. Offensively, we got a few breaks. We got some guys that got open, and our quarterback play was able to scramble enough and get it to guys. I think we only had one big-time drop on that, so our receivers did a real good job of corralling the ball.
The Eagles now 3-0 on the season.